Viewers, a global storm is now brewing against radical Islamist terror. The brutal Bondi attack in Sydney has reignited international outrage, and world leaders are taking a stand. U.S. President Donald Trump has called for a united global front to fight radical Islamist terrorism. Donald Trump, in his address, has stressed support for Jewish communities worldwide and sharpened his message about global security after the Sydney terror attack. Trump has said that the United States would always back Jewish people, adding that all nations must stand together against the evil forces of terrorism.
Let me take a moment to send the love and prayers to our entire nation, to the people of Australia, and especially all those affected by the horrific and anti-Semitic terrorist attack, and that's exactly what it is, anti-Semitic, that took place on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. What a terrible, terrible thing. We don't learn. We're joined in mourning all of those who were killed, and we're praying for the swift recovery of the wounded. Some are very horrifically wounded, as you probably know. All nations must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're doing that.
Viewers, back home, several political leaders have condemned the terror attack at Bondi Beach, which killed 15 innocent people. But there are some who condemn the use of the word radical Islamist as well.
बिल्कुल गलत बात है। ऐसा इस तरह के इस्लाम ने क्या कहा है, बेगुनाह को मारना सबसे बुरी बात समझी जाए गई है, वो बहुत बड़ा गुनाह है, ऐसा बोला गया है। इससे इस्लाम को जोड़ना बिल्कुल गलत बात है। ट्रम्प तो आजकल कुछ भी बोलते हैं। ट्रम्प, मोदी जी, वो आजकल ऐसे ही लीडर बन गए। इस तरह की बातें करके एक कंट्रोवर्सी निर्माण करने का काम हमेशा करते आए।
टेररिज्म है। आतंकवादियों की इस सभ्य समाज के अंदर कोई जगह नहीं है, और कोई रिलीजन, कोई मजहब ये नहीं सिखाता कि आप किसी भी बेगुनाह, बेकसूर निहत्थे के ऊपर इस तरह से आक्रमण करो, उसकी जान ले लो। कि आतंकवादी का कोई मजहब नहीं होता, उसको किसी भी जात, धर्म, रिलीजन के साथ जोड़ना सही नहीं है।
जो पावरफुल इस्लामिक पावरफुल कंट्रीज हैं, जिनका सारी दुनिया में नाम है, उन कंट्रीज को आगे आना पड़ेगा। जो गरीब या ऐसी मुस्लिम कंट्री हैं, उनमें से ज्यादा ये निकल रहे हैं। इसको किसी तरीके से भी ठीक करें, नहीं आने वाले दिनों में ये दुनिया के लिए, भारत के लिए और बाकी देशों के लिए, अमेरिका के लिए ये खतरे का बहुत बड़ा एक कारण है। अगर ट्रंप साहब अब जागे तो जरूर इसका कोई ना कोई लाभ जरूर होगा।
Because India is also facing fresh threats from radicals in Dhaka, with direct warnings aimed at our nation. Police have stopped a group of protesters marching towards the Indian High Commission in Dhaka, demanding the return of deposed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and others who fled during and after the July uprising last year. The protests followed threats against Indian diplomats, prompting India to summon Bangladesh's envoy. Viewers, these are not just angry protesters. Reports claim that these are extremist elements who've announced plans to create a security situation around the Indian High Commission in Dhaka.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest now. Joining us is Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of ORF. We have Ambassador Veena Sikri, former diplomat, joining us. We have Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhry, editor of Blitz, who's a Bangladeshi journalist. And Angie Wong, Miami GOP committee woman, is also joining us on the show. Angie Wong, thanks so much for joining us. And let me begin with you. While President Trump has certainly said, and these are very important words, about how globally there has to be strong condemnation action when it comes to Islamist terror, and certainly, of course, acts like Bondi Beach are not something that are acceptable at all. But when you look at the real approach, here you have a president of the United States who's hosting, wining and dining the Pak army chief, who's being seen as a dictator globally, a country which has had links with terror time and again, including terror that has impacted the United States. So there appears to be a hypocrisy in the approach of President Trump here.
No, not at all. I don't think it's hypocrisy. I think he's working with both sides, trying to find a solution, because we can't keep these killings going on and on forever. Last weekend has been one of the bloodiest weekends we've seen around the country and around the world. This has to stop. It's clear that the East and the West, they're having clashes, and we can't find a solution. And President Trump is saying to everyone, hey, can we make a deal here? We got to stop these shootings because, look, I mean, innocent people are dying, because of their faith? That's not reasonable. So I think that's what he's trying to do here. Beyond just words and inviting dignitaries to the White House, he's also trying to cut off their money pipeline, going to Venezuela and trying to cut off the oil pipeline there, just so that the money stops flowing into a lot of these foreign terrorist groups. There's been a lot of efforts by the United States. I wish other countries would join us.
Sushant Sareen, does this narrative really work? Difference between East and West, the clashes? You know, because this is a rather limited understanding of how things work, particularly where terror emerges from and who's really causing this radicalism.
Madhav, the part of the problem is not just about hypocrisy. It's also about that if white people are killed in terrorism, it's terrorism. Otherwise, it's just something which happens in some shitty third world country.
Language, please. Language, yeah.
No, but that's the language that the President of the United States has used very often. So I'm just quoting him.
No, just Indian television and Indian sensibilities are slightly different. I'm sure you'd agree. But go ahead, nevertheless.
Anyways, but that's what the attitude is. And I take a strong objection to it. How much outrage did you see in the Western media when terrorism happens in Delhi or in Pahalgam? The same Western newspapers, again, you will tell me that, I'm using language, but it was their headline, not mine. When they called the Bondi Beach terrorists, they called you bastards. What happened to them when they were reporting on what happened in Pahalgam? In Pahalgam, it was gunmen. Some very nice, innocent people who'd come and butchered 26 Hindus. And it was just some gunmen who did it. In terms of magnitude, Pahalgam was even worse than what happened in Bondi Beach, right? In Bondi Beach, it was random shooting at a Jewish congregation. In Pahalgam, it was they selected Hindus and shot them. How much outrage did you see in the rest of the world? And after that event, you had the President of the United States fake the field marshal, his favorite field marshal from Pakistan, which is a terrorist state. Second, and I think you have to be very, very clear on this. I think the Americans have fought against terrorism, but have also flirted with it. We are seeing that. Mr. Salahuddin Chaudhry is sitting out here. What has been happening in Bangladesh? Haven't the Americans been involved in Bangladesh? Haven't they unleashed forces of jihadist terrorism in Bangladesh by backing this third-rate Nobel Peace Laureate or whatever laureate he is? Haven't they been doing that? So you cannot have one standard in one part of the world and one standard in Australia or in the United States or in Western Europe. But in Bangladesh, it's okay if you unleash these jihadist terrorists inside Bangladesh in its body politic, that you flirt with a Pakistani military dictator who is also a jihadi quite openly. You invite a former jihadist, I don't know if he's former or he still believes in that philosophy, the president of Syria, you invite him to the White House and you feed him, and then you expect us to believe that America is actually fighting against terrorism.
Correct.
Give me a...
Yeah, and I want Angie to quickly respond to that before I go across to other panelists. Angie, respond to that. There's a clear hypocrisy in terms meddling in Bangladesh. You have, of course, the president of Syria, perhaps the best example. Why do these approaches, definitions of what constitutes terror and who's a terrorist, why does it change as per diplomatic convenience?
Oh, because it's been modernized. Look, the president of Syria came to the White House. Yes, it was great state fair, but that was more about finding ways of protecting Israel, which we know that President Trump is very dear friends with, and we will protect Israel every which way we can under the Trump administration. A lot of it is also he wants to have presence on the ground in the Middle East. So that was a deal that was made, and there's going to be a lot of economic benefits to that, hoping that the economic benefits will outweigh any additional terrorism acts, especially coming from around the borders. We know that Gaza and that whole region is a hotbed for terror. So he wants to find different ways and different pathways to ending all of this violence. I think that's what this president actually wants. You saw that from the very get-go. He's dedicated more of his administration to solving world conflicts than he is doing anything here domestically here in the U.S., which, comes with some complaints as well from the Americans. But the reality is he wants to be the peace president, not because he wants to win a Nobel Peace Prize, but because he can't stand that there's so much death in this world and that he can do something about it. And I think that's what he really wants the legacy of his presidency to be.
All right. I want Ambassador Veena Sikri to come in on this. Ambassador Veena Sikri, do you agree with what Angie Wong is saying, number one? And number two, Sushant referred to what's happening in Bangladesh. It's a very scary situation there because the radical elements who've been unleashed, and many believe this is part of a calculated, orchestrated regime change operation, which many attribute to the United States, that has led to this unfortunate turn of events.
Absolutely. First of all, I agree fully with what Mr. Sushant Sareen has said, that there cannot be hypocrisy on terror. Terror has to be called out for what it is. And unless it is called out for what it is and condemned for what it is, and action is taken to stop the financing of the terrorists, to stop the availability of weapons for the terrorists, unless those actions are taken, any other action, giving them a lollipop of economic development or economic progress, those are not means to end terror. Those are means to reinforce terror. Because the moment you offer a salvage, a lollipop, then the person says, wow, I'm being rewarded. I'm not being asked to stop. I'm being rewarded. So this is the unfortunate thing that has happened. And those who perpetrated the attack in Pahalgam on innocent tourists and terrorists and called them out by their religion. This is the worst form of terrorism, to show that we want to not only kill you, but we want to kill you because of your religion. And it's not, and people are not willing to call it out for that. So how can there be any sincere approach to end terrorism when you're not willing to call out a situation for what it is? And then you put on layers of other things that are irrelevant in the effort to end terror. That's one. And I think that what's happening in Bangladesh is exactly a parallel. Because the Jamaat-e-Islami, which has been put in charge, which has been in charge from the very day of Sheikh Hasina's ouster, is a party which is the A-team of Pakistan in Bangladesh. It has always been so. It was there before 1947. It was there from 47 to 71. It was there from 71 to today as the A-team of Pakistan in Bangladesh. They were always being, and even the regime change operation was operated in the same way through Pakistan by its external supporters and acting through the Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh. And today the Jamaat-e-Islami has unleashed a reign of terror in Bangladesh. All the terrorists who were in jail, who had been imprisoned by Sheikh Hasina, have been released. They were released on the first or second day, and nobody called it out at all. You know, that convicted terrorists.
Salahuddin Chaudhry, I'm going to let Salahuddin Chaudhry come in and in fact describe the situation. Salahuddin Chaudhry, please describe for our panelists what the situation on ground really is. Who's giving a free run to these radical elements so openly threatening Indian diplomats? They march to the Indian embassy and they're threatening that they'll enter it in the future, number one. Number two, you have various terror groups that are functioning with impunity now. That wasn't the case earlier. Pakistan's been given a virtual free run.
Who are giving patronization to Bangladeshi jihadis is Donald Trump, U.S. administration, U.S. deep state. And Donald Trump, he is doing cryptocurrency business with the Pakistanis. He is inviting Asimonir, the terror godfather, to White House. They are all together. Trump makes money. And what Trump said to fight radical Islamic terrorism, it makes no sense. He's a big hypocrite. And now, if you have seen the crowd, the mob who went to attack the Indian High Commission this afternoon, who are they? They belong to the Student Front of Jamaat-e-Islami, you mean offshoot of Muslim Brotherhood. They belong to Ansar al-Islam, meaning the local franchise of Al-Qaeda. They belong to Hizb ut-Tahrir. They belong to standard Pakistanis. They belong to Hifazat-e-Islam. So they're all radicals, jihadis and Islamists. They're being empowered jointly. It's a joint project of the U.S. deep state and Pakistani ISI. And I can only say Trump is absolutely aware of what is happening in Bangladesh, and he's encouraging, he's patronizing, because he wants to destabilize this region. He wants to make cash out of our suffering. And he is doing this to please his cryptocurrency partners in Islamabad, the Asim Munir and all the corrupt criminals in the Pakistani military administration. Even Donald Trump, I can assure that he is indirectly involved with the drug trafficking the Pakistani army is doing in Bangladesh, the Pakistani ISI. These are the, I don't want to say that Trump is a criminal, but Trump is behaving like the Al Capone.
Okay. The point is this, I don't know about drug trafficking, but I can tell you one thing, Angie Wong. And, you're hearing from a person in Bangladesh, you're hearing about diplomats who have worked with Bangladesh in all these countries. Why in the world would President Trump and the United States approve a $686 million F-16 support deal for Pakistan? The very country from which terror is emanating, and emanating globally, is the country in which Osama bin Laden was found.
Yeah, I don't see any evidence that Trump is in any way directly or indirectly involved in some of the accusations that was just made against him. I don't believe he is supporting radical Islam, and I don't think he's helping with the drug trafficking or any of that sort. I see no evidence. In fact, I see the exact opposite.
Ma'am, what is this help to Pakistan? F-16s being provided to Pakistan. Over $500 million are being spent. In fact, 2/3 of a billion. Why?
Look, why not? He's selling them to who he wants to. And if India doesn't want to make that trade, because right now it looks like Modi and Trump, they're still doing a tit for tat. And it's all over Russian oil and buying Russian oil. And also this new pact that was made between Russia, India, and China. Trump doesn't like it. So he's going to go to your neighbors that you don't like.
That's all right. That's part of diplomacy. But then you can't take the higher moral ground on global Islamist terror. Can you, Sushant Sareen?
Why not? Why?
Because the Pakistan's the fountainhead of Islamist terror, ma'am.
Look, I don't believe that Trump is in any way supporting a radical Islam. In fact, he has come out straight. I mean, he's done everything he could to fight
it's a government that supports Islamist terror.
Here.
It's a state government. It's the ISI. It's their government machinery. All right, Sushant Sareen.
Fighter jets.
Sushant Sareen, why is supporting Pakistan akin to supporting terror? Would you like to tell Angie Wong?
I'm just saying,
I don't even know if
to them is not.
I don't even know if Donald Trump understands what radical terrorism is. I think he just sees somebody shooting somebody and he condemns it for whatever it's worth. I don't think he has the intellectual bandwidth to understand where Islamic terrorism is coming from. Number one, which is why
I don't believe that
if he knew anything about it. If he knew anything about
that is just a misstatement. If you want to take down Trump, you can take him down on many things, but not that.
Was I interrupting you? Was I interrupting you? I can say
sorry, but you're telling lies on television, so I am going to
interrupt you. A lot of statements you made which have absolutely no bearing to reality, but I didn't interrupt you. And I can tell you that when you say that he is now, he is now, because he wants to protect Israel, as though an Al-Qaeda affiliate will protect Israel. I think Israel is capable enough of protecting itself. They made sure of that. But if you think that you're going to be able to bribe an Al-Qaeda guy by inviting him to the White House, and as long as he does not attack your friends, it's okay, whatever else he does. Whatever other radicalism, jihadism he spreads in the rest of the world, it's perfectly fine, it's kosher. It's not a problem for America, because America and its friends are safe. The rest of the world can go to hell. But America is fighting terrorism. So please give me a break. I don't buy this nonsense about America fighting terrorism. I think America, like I said right at the outset, has been flirting with terrorism also. And it has been fighting with the terrorism which it thinks affects it and its interests. Otherwise, it doesn't give a damn for terrorism. It will be more than willing to do business with them, as we have been told on your show, that they're more than willing to do business with anybody. They're willing to sell whatever they want to sell to Pakistan. It does not matter the ideology of Pakistan, that the fact that an American or America was the most hated country in Pakistan, it doesn't matter to the United States, simply because you can sell something to them. By all means, go ahead and sell. You even made them a nuclear power because you thought they are your buddies. and wait and see what happens. So,
all right, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Completely out of time on this discussion. Sushant Sareen, Ambassador Veena Sikri, Angie Wong, Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhary. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on the debate this evening.